Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Welcome everyone to an episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and as the cold nights are drawing in and Hallows Eve is just around the corner, what better time to sit in front of your computer, check out another fantastic Kickstarter with a horror twist. With a touch of Scooby-Doo thrown in, maybe. Who knows? Let's talk to the writer and creator, none other than Patrick Coyle. Patrick, thank you so much for spending the time. How's it going, sir?
It's going well. Thank you so much for you spending the time with me.
You are more than welcome. I love a good Kickstarter, and this is certainly on my radar as one of those. Why don't you tell us about your book? It is Bixby Grant, Fangs and Brimstone.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bixby Grant is a mummy detective. That's the high level pitch. Actually, you can see over here. This is Bix right there.
There he is.
He was a policeman back in the 1930s, and he busted up a museum heist that triggered the curse of the pharaoh, and he became a living mummy. And so after that he became a private eye, and now it's 100 years later, and he's really grumpy and much older, and all his friends and family are dead and gone. So he really doesn't feel like he has that much to live for, but unfortunately he can't die. So but there's a lot of stuff hidden in his past, and that's what this story, Fangs and Brimstone, is about. He tries every year on his birthday. He tries to take a regular old like snoop job just to kind of distract himself from the memory of what the things that have happened on this day 100 and so years ago. And unfortunately, this time around, he took a job investigating a haunted warehouse. And
that's before we say warehouse, that's like a normal warehouse, not like a werewolf. It's not like a house that gets hair or anything like that.
Yeah. That's a fair point. You never know in a story like this. I should back up a minute and say that Bixby Grant lives in a fictional city called Harbor City, that is populated with lots of werewolves and vampires and ghouls and goblins. It's just kind of become that way over the last 100 or so years after he became a mummy. So there's always kind of a supernatural angle, inevitably, to the cases that he takes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes not unintentionally. He never knows what he's going to get into. So in this, I put out my first Bixby Grant about a year ago, and I did very well on Kickstarter. That was a graphic novel. It was a 80-pager, a one and done story. Fangs and Brimstone is this is a number one of 6 issues. So this is it's going to be a pretty big story, but this is the real introduction where you don't have to have read the previous issue. You learn who Bix is. You learn who, and you can see down the lower part of the corner there on screen, you can see Diego, who is a rockabilly vampire. He's got his shades on down there. And
why wouldn't a vampire wear shades? It's like he would.
Why not? Well, he's super cool. Look at he's got the nice pompadour going and a leather coat. So this one, the first one that I did was a pretty traditional noir mystery story, like kind of like Raymond Chandler, that kind of old school detective story, which I love. This one, with the introduction of Diego as a supporting character in this, is much more of a buddy action kind of mystery. Bix really does not want Diego along with him. But of course, that's what makes it fun, right? So, and Diego kind of insists on coming along. So, this first issue is about, we learn a little bit about, we get hints as to what was so traumatic for Bix on his birthday many years ago, and start to find out a little bit about his past. There's a whole history that I've got up here that hasn't made it to a script or even a notes stage yet for his his full backstory for 100 years. But we're starting to get little pieces of it, and eventually we'll kind of weave the whole story together, if that makes sense.
Totally. Let me ask you a question then, because obviously everyone who likes comic books dabbles in writing or art. I have a kick-ass superhero action story all in here. How do you keep it? How do you keep it straight? Because I had things like,
Yeah.
oh well, I could do this, and then when I had that one thing, the other thing goes,
Yeah.
how do you manage to keep it
So
all straight?
I do keep notebooks. Like you hear about, I don't keep physical notebooks. I actually keep it now I keep it digitally. So
No.
about 20 years ago, I started writing things down in Word documents and just tucking them away. Because at that time I wasn't writing anything, but I didn't want to lose the idea. You know, you have that shower idea moment when you're not thinking about something and it pops in there.
Yeah.
So you got to write it down, or like you said, it's gone. Like it'll be replaced with something else.
Yeah.
So this idea I actually came up with Bixby Grant as a concept about 30 years ago when I was in college or university, as you probably would say.
I can say both. I'm multilingual.
Very good.
Watch. Garbage, trash, rubbish.
Rubbish.
Sneakers, trainers. See? I've got it down. Vacation, holiday. I am so there.
Wait, do you take the lift or the elevator?
I take a lift up and stairs down. My knees don't have it any other way. Fair point. Well, we've just met, so you might not know, but I'm a huge American fan. I love NFL. I'm a huge Dolphins fan.
Oh, is that right?
So, yeah,
that's
man.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm a big Anglophile, actually. So it works.
Yeah.
You can help me. You can help me learn some more UK English stuff, and I'll like more.
Just put using words, and you're fine. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is my favorite, not favorite.
That's right, favorite. Yeah, we get a bit of that up in Canada as well, just north of here.
Yeah, I can imagine. Although I do prefer how you say lieutenant over lieutenant, because I look at lieutenant and it says lieutenant. Anybody who says lieutenant, you know, you're probably from Bixby's age.
So you guys don't spell lieutenant with an F?
Nope. Same way you spell it. Although
weird, because I get when you add the U, you know, just little spelling changes, but like
it might be a French thing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Who knows?
I'm not much of a linguist.
There's a joke. There's a James Bond joke in there. I'm not going there. I am not going there. I'm thinking it, but I'm not going there. All right, okay. All right, so Bigsby. When I looked at the book, and we're going to take a look at some of the pages you sent over very kindly, thank you. Influence-wise, I mentioned Scooby-Doo at the top of the show. Yeah. And it's because it's that kind of, it's that comedy horror, not like, rah. It's like, you know, and we all love the Mummy episode of Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yeah, of course.
From wherever. A little bit Dick Tracy in there, perhaps?
Yes.
A little bit Shadow.
Yep, absolutely. I love the Shadow. I also love Spirit.
Spirit.
Definitely. More recently, DC had the license a few years ago, and Darwin Cook and Paul Smith and a whole bunch of people did. Dave Gibbons, I think, even did some covers for them, and it was. I thought it was a great run. I love that stuff. I love the old kind of pulpy heroes.
Shadow is up there for me. I love the Shadow.
Love the Shadow. Absolutely love the Shadow. Did you read the 80s like Bill Sienkiewicz?
Yes. Howard Shaker. Yeah. I read that.
It is insane. Like, isn't it? Andrew Helfers was an editor at DC at the time, or maybe right after that. And it was, as far as I could tell, that and Justice Inc. are the only things that he wrote, and they're both wonderfully insane. Like the Shadow went off the rails. Like he had, and I mean that in the best way. Like I've got the trades actually right behind me here. And when he, like, his head comes off and gets put on a robot body, but he's still wearing the hat, and he's got a flying car now, and it was so great. I loved it so much.
So very much Spock's brain. At the time, DC had two Shadow books, if I remember. They had that one, and they had the Shadow Strikes, which was the more traditional.
Yes,
pulpy,
that's right.
Margot's always in trouble. She always needs rescuing and all that sort of stuff. But I also love the stuff like the Michael Kaluta stuff for Dark Horse.
Oh yeah.
So I've got one of the William Gibson books downstairs in the paperbacks. Then you read it. There's absolutely like those 12-cent throw-in novels that you used to be able to get.
Yeah.
So pulpy heroes are right up my street.
Totally.
Absolutely. How is it then? You've got the juxtaposition between the kind of like the old soul in Bigsby,
Yeah.
and then you've got the Fonz character in Diego.
Yeah.
That brings up not quite buddy,
Right.
but it brings up a level of what, old dog, young pup type of
Yes.
mentality.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. Like Bix is, if you to think about this as Lethal Weapon,
Okay,
Bix
cool.
Bixby is the Roger Murdoch character,
Okay.
and then I guess Diego would be the Riggs character, I suppose.
Okay.
In Midnight Run, Bix would be the De Niro character. I mean, not that they're older; they're about the same age in that movie, but one is the grumpy, detective type,
Yeah.
and one is the reluctant kind of thorn in the side, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the old worldness of Bigsby's mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can feel him when I was reading the book earlier today, and I could practically hear him sigh every word. He's like,
yeah,
as if a mummy cursed me.
yeah,
now I'm immortal. Kind of like that kind of that thought pattern. That's just everything seems worn out about the guy.
yeah. He's done.
He's like, I'm one and done. I'm done. Send me
Yeah.
back. I'm over it.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure that's exactly how it's always going to play out, though. I'm sure you've got some things up your sleeves that will.
There's some things coming. There's this. So I did that one shot last year, which was the first one, and then just to kind of see. I just got back into making comics in the last couple of years. I'd done it years ago, but then life took me away, and I have a day job and all that kind of fun stuff. So I didn't know like how this would go. I didn't know Kickstarter, how that would do for me. I didn't know if people would take to the character, but I just wanted to get it out in the world and say I had done it. So that story was really didn't get into his backstory almost at all. It hinted at some tragedy, but this one's starting to flesh that out. And then I've got like 2 more story arcs that I think will really bring kind of Bix out and want to be a little bit more part of society again. But still somewhat kicking and screaming, right? Like he's not gonna love the reasons that he has to come out again, but he will.
I love the kind of Diego annoys me, and it's maybe because I'm more Bigsby than I am Diego, but he annoys me. Sure. And that's part and parcel of it. That you're supposed to be annoyed by him. That's the thing. You mentioned your comics in the past. Where would we have seen your earlier stuff?
Well, so I was a publisher. I started a small publishing company with my friend Shannon Eric Denton back in 1999 called Comic Works.
Okay.
But it was spelled with all K's as if it was German, like Kraftwerk, but with Comic Works. And we published online. My day job has been for a long time as a web designer, so it made sense. It doesn't cost anything. Let's get some independent stuff up there. We also did put out a series of anthologies, and then we eventually put out a series of illustrated prose novels for kids called Actionopolis.
Okay.
So that was over the course of about 10 years. And then at that time, over that time, Shannon had a couple of kids. Then I got married and had a couple of kids. And,
life.
Life.
As Springsteen says, bills and kids and bills.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. My wife also went back to school. And so like, it was just too busy for me to do this. And so I think like 8-9 years go by, and then my kids are a little older now. They can feed themselves. I don't have to dress them anymore. They're 12 and 15. So I can rely on them not to have to me crack the whip with them all the time.
You can rely on them not to put spots with stripes when they're getting dressed.
That's one of them maybe. but I found myself with a little bit of time and also starting to age a little bit, and I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And so rather than just focus on the publishing and running a business, I'm just going to write it. Also, I went to school for illustration. So
Okay, cool.
the dream had always been that I was going to write and draw my comics, but I really didn't keep up with the drawing. And so every couple of years when I get the bug again, I'd sit down and I'd draw and I get really discouraged. Then once you get over the discouragement, you're like, okay, well, just realistically, it's going to take a couple of years before I'm even halfway decent. So I kind of gave up the ghost, I was like,
for this book.
yeah, I didn't give it up that much. I didn't give it up conceptually. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to work with someone who's a professional. I'll pay them to draw my comic. And that's how I met Gonzalo, through a friend of a friend. And I sold a lot of my comics to pay for this. And then of course the Kickstarter helped defray some of the costs as well. And here we are with the second issue. So yeah, you probably would not have seen anything that I did. I did 3 short stories in our anthologies, but we sold 500 copies of those. So probably no one saw those, but it was a lot of fun. We got to work with, I got to meet some of my comic book heroes, a lot of great people in animation and film, because Shannon, my partner, he's been in the industry he got his first job with Rob Liefeld's company back in the mid-90s.
Image.
Specifically, it was Awesome Studios, right? I think with his imprint inside of Image, but and then he's been in animation. He just knows everybody. So he's been encouraging me to do Bix for years and years, and so finally I got off my behind and did it.
It's interesting because if you've come from like an illustration background, and you've turned your hand to writing as well, and Bixby's your guy, your character. How do you feel when you hand it off to an artist? Obviously, I'm not trying to get at the kind of like the discouragement that you have in your own answer. Dude, I draw. I say I draw. Where is he? We've been going through Doctor Who recently. You watch Doctor Who? Yeah, so there's my doodle of Matt Smith.
Nice.
Wearing the fez. That's as good as it gets for me. But how does it feel when you hand off your creations, your story, and then have somebody else say, well, okay, and get at it? Because I always think writers are mini editors in their own head anyway. Yeah. Are you a kind of hands-off guy, or are you a takeover Ted?
I started off super control freaky. So like I built a whole inspiration board with lots of reference, and here's what I'm thinking, and here's the description, very detailed, just because I hadn't worked with somebody before. And because it is my baby, and I had a certain vision of what it, I don't mean like capital V vision, like I'm some sort of, captain of industry. I mean, like I had pictured it a certain way.
Yeah. I knew what you meant. I mean, when we talk about things and the things that are important to us, we have in our head, we know what it looks like. When I cook a meal, I expect it to look fantastic. Yeah. Even if it's chili dogs.
Chili dogs can look really nice.
Hey, chili dogs taste really nice. Put some jalapenos on the top, some nachos grated across, cheese underneath, so don't stand on the chili.
Love it. Now I want a chili dog.
Yeah, recipes arrows. So how did you move from that level of kind of detail to a more comfortable hands-off approach? Because man, artist's got to breathe, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is being an artist, you understand, what you want, what a person wants to do as an artist, right? So like if I'm working with Gonzalo, and I've seen his portfolio, I know he's a professional, I know what he can do, but he's never done anything quite like what I am hiring him for. But I know he's a good storyteller. I know he's a good draftsman. I know that he's, got a lot of great skills. So it's just you build trust over time. Like you kind of have to kind of let it go, honestly, like the Frozen song, right?
Let it go, let it go. I don't want to draw anymore.
That's not bad. You should write that down. You got a lot of room in that notebook from what I saw. Hey, that was what you said.
I have a lot of room in that notebook. I've got one that's chocolate. I'll show you that later.
All right.
I'm not one by people with my dodgy ass. Right, we'll take a quick break before we get back, and we're going to take a look at the Kickstarter. We're going to look at the rewards and pledges you're at, and we'll have a look at a few pages of Bigsby. I'm not sure if I've got anything shadowy esque advert wise. I think the closest I've got, and I don't think he appears on it, unfortunately, but we'll see who is there. So in one advert with lots of cast of characters, it's time for a crisis. There you have it, Christ in the Toyverse. Yes, he takes the figures out of the box. Don't complain to me. I will say this: back when the Shadow was a movie, you could get a range of Shadow figures, and the Shadow one, top of his hat was red plastic, so that when you put it under light, his eyes would light up red. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
That's really cool.
That was like, in my 20s, I hung it up and the light hit it and the eyes lit up. I was like, how does that work? I was like working it out. It's so funny. So I love that figure. Loved it. One of my favorite figures. Only still about year big.
Yeah.
So Bobo, get me a Shadow figure. McFarlane, make me a Shadow figure. Mind you, I'm still waiting for you to make me a Batman one. So anyway, enough shenanigans over figures. Let's get back to Bigsby. So I promised we'd have a look at the Kickstarter. We'll bring it up here. There is a video on the Kickstarter page, and I normally play the video, but the video is you talking, so I'd rather just talk to you directly.
Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry about that. Before I look at the where you are, a couple of quotes. So I've never realized just how much I needed a cursed living mummy private eye story until I discovered the pure noir delight that is Bigsby Grant. And trust me, you need it too. Cullen Bunn. Excuse me, for those that don't know, Cullen Bunn started off pretty much on Zenoscope and then moved across and has become a bit of a horror guru across the board. I've interviewed Cullen a couple of times. What a nice guy. Massive. So that's a great quote. And then you've got Carl Kessel. Cops turned into a mummy, becomes a PI, fights werewolves. Looks like Patrick Flynn is having too much fun. Count me in. Yeah, Carl Kessel, long-term comic veteran.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Way back on Superman, if not before, and other things. What's it feel like to get these recognized characters quoting so well on your book?
Unbelievable, and not something I thought would happen. I didn't know Cullen. I don't really know Cullen, but a friend of a friend does. And I was able to get him, and he's under no obligation. So I was like, he won't read the book, but he did. And then he gave me a quote, and I told him how much I love his work, because I really do love the Sixth Gun and Harrow County quite a bit.
Yep.
Sixth Gun is one of my favorite of the last 20 years.
Which one did I like? Which was the one about on the boat, the versions of Noah's Ark? What was that one called?
Oh, I don't know that one. He's done so much.
I'm gonna have to Google that.
All right.
Okay, carry on. Sorry, as you were saying.
That's all right. And so he did it out of the kindness of his heart. And then Carl Kiesel, when I launched my last campaign, just DM'd me and was like, "Hey, this looks really great." And then he started retweeting all my stuff, and he's just been super supportive. And one of the things that I love about comics is that the creators are so accessible, and everyone feels like we're in this together, even though, you know, both of them have worked for Marvel and DC and Dark Horse and all the bigs. But you know, they're yeah, it's beyond what I really dreamed would happen at this point.
I think definitely. I mean, for me, Cullen has been over the last 5-10 years just totally nailing horror as a vibe.
Yeah.
You think he started off in Zenescope, and regardless of what you say, what people think about Zenescope being a TNA book, well, the covers are at least they stick to their model and they are successful. If people want to buy that, fine, buy that. There's room on the rack for it. And yet he's kind of evolved across. You know, he's worked on X-Men. He's worked in horror books. He's worked on. He's worked for Aftershock. He's worked across the board. You know, and Carl Kessel or Kiesel, depending on your accent. Again, you know, a fantastic reference. So the big reveal. We are currently at $3,859 pledged to a $4,700 goal. So you are less than what? What's that? Less than 800? 900?
Yeah, we're doing all right.
162 backers. I have to say that is a huge amount. 162 is really impressive.
I'm very
got 20 days left. Practically 3 weeks.
I know. And I only just started appearing on you know, shows like yours to even promote it. So I couldn't be more thrilled with where we're at. The last one I did was, you know, my very first. So I got a lot of friends and family to support it as well, which is great. But can't count on that longer term, because eventually, like, your aunt is going to be like, I don't want comics. Like, I bought the first one, but I'm not going to keep buying them. So what I like about what's happening here is I'm getting a lot of new folks this time around, as well as the more hardcore fans that backed the first one. So I feel like I'm getting a better longer term audience building, which is very encouraging. So that's great.
I mean, 162 is a huge number. Absolutely. Does that say what? Are you in Massachusetts right now? Is that where
I am indeed? I'm in central Massachusetts, near a town called Worcester.
So, like the sauce. We have Worcestershire.
That's Worcestershire.
Okay. Not the way I say it. That means you're a Patriots fan.
No, God, no. I hate the Patriots.
Thank God for that.
No, yeah. I am a Red Sox fan, but I'm actually an Eagles fan for football.
Oh, it's even worse. You just beat us. Oh, man. You kept that quiet. Mind you, you didn't beat us. The refs did.
Who do you root for?
The Dolphins.
Ugh.
Miami. Don't ugh. Don't ugh.
How did you pick the Dolphins?
Well, I got into American football in the 80s, and it was all Dan Marino.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
It was either Dan Marino, Marcus Allen, or Joe Montana. And my brother picked Joe Montana.
Okay.
And I think I had some trading cards. I bought some trading cards somewhere along the line, and it had the Dolphins in 72 on them. And then when you turned on the highlight show, it was Dan Marino from the Dolphins. So I was like, that's kind of how it stuck. And it stuck. It's just, I can't not be a Dolphins fan now.
Understood.
But ironically, like you, I'm a Red Sox fan because I'm a Yankees hater. So I've got 3 shirts up, baseball shirts. I've got a Marlins because they're from Miami, a Red Sox because I'm a Yankee hater, and a Mets because I'm a Yankee hater.
All right. Yeah, I'm a Yankee hater as well. I'm also a Phillies fan. So they just lost. They just got knocked out of the playoffs this week.
Oh, such a shame. Right, back to comics. Right, let's see. $5 gets you a digital edition. I think digital editions are absolutely the bee's knees. Not because I particularly like them. I prefer comics in my hand because I like reading comics. But from an international point of view, digital has to be one of the ways to go. I don't mind dropping $5 on a book. I do mind having to spend $25 on getting it shipped over.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. I love it.
So that's a really good call. I really do like that. You get for $12. You get what's this? Number 1 and an original graphic novel, Wolf She Cried. Excellent.
Yes.
Cool. Excellent. $15 gets you the physical, the cover here, which we've used as part of our backdrop, which is also this one here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, cool. It's nice. I liked. It's like Diego's like the Fonz. It's what happens if the Fonz met Elvis Presley while recording Jailhouse Rock.
Yeah. Gonzalo gave him that striped shirt, which I think looks pretty smart on him.
Yeah, very cool. Cover B, very shadow-esque, that one, I think.
Totally.
Maybe that might be the one we used as our backdrop, actually.
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
right. Are you familiar with Gabriel Hardman?
I don't think I am.
Okay, so he's been doing comics for 20 or so years, but he's kind of under the radar. His day job is as a storyboard artist in Hollywood. He worked on the last Indiana Jones movie, and he worked on The Dark Knight and Logan and a bunch of other really high-profile films as a storyboard artist. But for comics, he did Agents of Atlas for Marvel about 15 years ago.
Know that. Yes.
And then he did he's done a bunch of creator-owned books too. One called Invisible Republic, an Image that he wrote and drew, and he did some Planet of the Apes books. And I was thrilled to get him to do a cover. He's just, there's a lot of dynamicism to that shot.
Yep, I think I'm checking. Oh, Diego, cool, too cool for his own good. See if there was a larger cover of the. I'm sure there will be as we scroll.
There is. And, keep going.
We've put the whole book in here.
Only 5 pages.
Variants. Here we go.
There we are.
There you go.
There it is.
Yeah, I like that one. That one's the bee's knees. I love that one.
Yeah, that one came out really nicely.
The colours are pulpy as well.
Yeah.
I like how he's the mummy and he still wears a tie. It's cool.
Well, he's old school.
Yeah. I like this Zombie Town cover. I saw this on the digital he sent across. I like this. I like the zany 60s off-kilter colours on that one a lot.
Yeah, we're actually going to be doing a metallic black light cover. We're going to unleash that next week as kind of a mid-campaign, little
boost.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, $40 get you and some stickers, mini prints anywhere in the world. So you're covering off a whole host of things that people love about Kickstarters. You mentioned earlier that it's kind of going, so it's like you return to what you love in comic books as from years gone. Do you think that over the last 20 years or so, there's just been a massive explosion of independent work and independent comic books through publishers as well as crowdfunded?
It's insane. I mean, the reason that the direct market is so crazy now is because it's so diverse. Plus you got Indiegogo, you've got Kickstarter, you've got Zoop, like you've got all these other outlets, right? So on the one hand, it's fantastic.
That poster's cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a 20 by 30 inch fold out poster, which is why those lines are in there. But we did that on the last one and got really good feedback. We had a Raphael Albuquerque cover that we turned into the poster that time.
I think you've used him as well. Another good guy. Great creator.
He's wonderful. I got to meet him for the first time at a con about a month ago.
And do you know what I love about him the most? The amount of grief he must get over that cover. The Batgirl Joker cover. And yet he's absolutely, it's like, when I interviewed him, he was like, oh, you can ask me questions about it all you like, it's fine. It was just totally like, it's a piece of art and that's it.
Really?
And I was like, you know what, he didn't try and hide from it. He didn't try and, just like, I drew it, it's great. And I think it's great as well, because I think, you know what, it epitomizes what was going on in the Killing Joke story. And I suppose it's how society changes. Yeah. Just imagine if society changed so much that books like Lady Chatterley's Lover were considered banned. That'd be like, I think it's bad that Mouse gets banned.
Yeah. That's mind-boggling to me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Anyway, back to this. I love that poster. Absolutely love that poster.
Thanks. I'm pretty excited to get those as well. I want to put one up in my house.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and the Zombie Town cover, that is a variant that's basically a cover to the backup story in the
Yeah,
issue, which I know you know about, but I wanted to mention if that's all right.
Yeah, of course I was going to get there.
I'm sure you were, but it's just top of mind. There's one of the supporting characters from the Bixby story is named Detective Ramirez, and she's the main character in the Zombie Town story. So it's her. Her father was a beloved police captain many years ago who just disappeared when she was a kid, and so she's been investigating now that she's a cop in her off hours to try and figure out what happened to him. And it turns out that he was last seen entering this section of Harbor City known as Zombie Town, it was a section of the town that 30 years ago there was a zombie outbreak, and rather than deal with it, they just walled it off. And so really it's just an excuse for me to be able to have a zombie story anytime I want.
What I will say about the Zombie Town, I will say, first of all, 70s style cover. When you look at it, that screams like that 70s kind of exploitation style movie, doesn't it? Poster.
Yes.
And I think that's hugely, because we start off in the books very much like this. Was there a particular age that you were aiming for when you wrote this? Is it all ages? Is it teen plus? Is it for me?
It's I write for things that I want to read, right, or that I would find interesting. But I technically wrote it in all ages. Like, there's no swearing in it. I use the little characters for like the classic kind of asterisks and number sign and dollar sign for swears and that kind of thing. But what was interesting to me was when I brought it to my local comic shop, they're like, well, we're going to have to list this as 16 plus because they're smoking and drinking. And I hadn't even considered that. But that's how, I mean, I love my comic shop. I've been going there for almost 20 years. But they run a successful, responsible business. And if some parents got bent out of shape, they'd, so I don't put a warning or a label on the book itself. But they put it in the section, not where there's like, TNA books like we were talking about before, but where there is, it's not in the section.
And see, this is how bonkers it is. You've got a book that is art-wise very clearly aimed at an all-ages audience, and yet because there's smoking in it, that has to go in 16 plus. But Zenoscope, who's got more curves than a Grand Prix track, has to be in the standard comic section. Are you having a laugh? Really? I swear. Where did they put Constantine? Constantine will be sold in. He'll be sold in like brown paper bags. Don't look at this.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. And there's a new Constantine series coming out, so I'll have to look and see where they keep that.
Where do they put him? Where does they put Satana? She walks around in fishnets.
I know.
So,
it doesn't.
I swear to God, the things that people choose to care about.
I know.
It baffles my brain. Anyway,
I know.
Not just in your local comic book shop, but as it's in Patriotstown, I'm probably not going there anytime soon. Especially not in a dolphin shirt.
I would not advise that.
I mean, we haven't, I don't think Tua Tagovailoa's lost to the Patriots ever. And yes, I know Patriots fans, you beat us last year, but he was injured at the time. We had Skylar Thompson. So
hey, look, right now I am loving what's going on with the Patriots because I have lived in New England all my life, and for the last 20 years, all I've had to hear about is 6 rings and Tom Brady. And
so why do you not like the Patriots?
So I grew up in Connecticut, which is just south of here. My father and his family are from the Philadelphia area. So I grew up, rooting for the Eagles and for the Phillies. But then when I moved to Massachusetts, I love baseball, and I lived in the Boston area. And I went to a ton of games, and I love Fenway, and I got to really love. It was about 4 years before
the curse got broke.
Yeah, so it was hard not to get caught up in the fever, right? It was just, there was the height of the anti-Yankees thing and the rivalry, and it was just a lot of fun.
And
so
then what's his name comes out and says the Yankees are my dad.
That's Pedro.
Kurt Swillen's Red Sox.
Yeah, the whole thing, man. It was
Lowe's painting the corners like a hero.
Yep.
Honestly,
I went down to Fenway the night they won, and I got tear gassed by the police.
I will say this, because hopefully I've shown my credentials already by doing it, but I will say this: when I think about Eagles, I think Mike, Randy White, I think Randall Cunningham, I think Mike Quick, I think Keith Byers, I think Keith Jackson, and Andre Dirty Waters. There you go. That's my, when I think of the Eagles, that's my Eagles.
Understood.
So I'm a football fan from years ago.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, I've got a Cunningham jersey in my closet. That's like.
So you must have loved it when Foles did the whole touchdown catch.
Oh yeah.
You were probably the most hated man in all of Massachusetts, walking around in your Kelly Green. Hey, look at me.
Yeah. I had at the time, my boss and I had a bet for that Super Bowl because he's a huge Pats fan, and I said, if I win. Or if the Eagles win, you have to wear my Eagles jersey to work, and vice versa. Like I'll wear, your Brady jersey. And so the Eagles won, and the next morning we were at a client's site, and I pulled the jersey out of my bag, and I said, "Hey, Matt," and he goes, "Oh God." And so I didn't make him go through with it, but it was just seeing the look on his face that I might make him was prize enough.
Fair enough. Fair shout.
Yeah.
Fair shout. I will say this. I do like Jalen Hurts. And in fact, I've said this on the pod before. I think Jalen Hurts was the MVP of the last Super Bowl, because there's no way you can account for, I think, was it something like 320 odd yards of a 378 yard offensive production and not be considered the most valuable player.
Yeah.
Mahomes only threw for like less than 250.
I know.
If it wasn't for Kelsey in the first half, they wouldn't have done anything wrong. I also think that you lost the game not on the hold. I think the cornerback, I can't remember his name, I apologize. The corner should let Juju Smith try and go for the ball. If he catches the ball, it's a touchdown, but you've still got all your time, plus your timeouts left. Yeah. If he doesn't catch the ball, it's an incomplete pass and stops the clock.
Right.
Just let him go, man. Let's see. The worst thing you could do is hold.
Yes. It killed it. It
did, absolutely. Yeah. I'm saying, right, fine. Try and score. Off you go and let it. And if he catches it, as I say, great. Now, now you had no problems moving the ball downfield. Just over 2 minutes left at the time with the 3 timeouts. 2 minute one hadn't gone yet.
But it was a brilliant 2-minute drive.
Yeah, but just let him score, and then you could do. Anyway, back to your book. See, you ramble, I ramble.
Yeah.
What did I say? So I'm going to jump ahead in the book a little bit.
Okay.
Because we've seen the kind of all ages art, and we're going to have a quick look at this. Is the backup story?
Yes.
So the art here is dramatically different.
Yes.
Again, is this more a mature story than the first part?
A little bit. I mean, it's certainly like zombies aren't as kind of cute horror as a vampire or a mummy. And I came across Gonzalo Ruggieri, who's the artist here, actually on Kickstarter. I funded I backed his sketchbook about a year and a half ago. And then as I was trying to think about who I was going to get to work on this, because I love working with Gonzalo Martinez. I will continue to work with him on the main big story, but I wanted to mix it up and show that what I love about a lot of my favorite comics from Marvel and DC, and even Hellboy to a certain extent, is that they work in a bunch of styles, right? They can be more serious. You can have Bill Sienkiewicz on it, or you can have Dan Jurgens on it, or you can have Riley Rossmo on it. Like they're wildly different styles, but all really work. And so I wanted to bring a little bit of that and kind of expand the Bixbyverse, if you will, a little bit. And so I really liked Gonzalo's work. elsewhere. He had done a couple of issues of Rumble for Image, which is the John R. book a while ago, and some other international work as well. And I just fell in love with it. I love how Gonzalo Martinez has a very tight, very line-driven style, whereas Ruggieri here is very loose and very inky and very organic, and much more exaggerated. Like you can see, the proportions on people are very cartoony in that they're stretched and they're bent a little bit more.
But that works. That
absolutely works because it's consistent. Like it's not just one person.
Yeah,
it's intentional and it's throughout. Right. So it works really well. I think he's a good storyteller. I like that he does the hand lettering in there, which I didn't know he was going to do until I saw the pencils. And it does. It gives a little bit flavor. It does feel a little more mature.
The colors add the maturity, I think.
They do, and so he does the colors as well. Yeah, and it just looks fantastic. He does an ink wash first, and then he digitally colors underneath or on top. I'm not quite sure how he does it, but it looks great.
It's a color. I think if you took the colors away and it was a black and white book, you could probably get away with it, still thinking it's kind of cartoony. But the shadows and the way the paint. I mean, I'm just looking at this back panel here. With the goon, you can see the shades. It's as if the wall has been painted. It looks gorgeous. And I always think, when I think Hellboy, I always think, as much as I love Mike Mignola, Mikey should do the show. It's Dave. He's never going to do the show. Dave Sharp's colors.
Yeah.
Is it Dave Sharp?
Dave Stewart.
Dave Stewart. Sorry, Dave Stewart's colors that just absolutely make that.
Yes.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Arthur Hesley, who does the colors on the main story, because he really transforms the look and feel of the book from being more traditional. He gives it. You can see there's a lot of texture in there. There's a lot of angles in there. I told him I wanted kind of a neo-noir, but also I also pointed to 1960s illustration, like Robert McGinnis, and also what Greg Smallwood does these days. I just love all that kind of stuff. And so he, between Gonzalo's pencils and inks and his colors, it brings something new that I don't think I've seen before. I think something unique, which I really like.
It's interesting because the colors on the main book, I can see the backgrounds are trying to be noir, but then the characters themselves are quite Scooby-Doo, like full color. And it's kind of, it's a nice little juxtaposition between and how the characters are standing out from the background. So
agreed. Yeah.
Well done. Good call. Good call all around. Can't argue with that. Excellent. We're running out of time. We've gone on more than we should.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You did. That's fine. You did say you were a rambler, and we did throw in some football just for fun. Give me your 60 seconds pitch on why people should be checking out Bigsby Grant.
Okay. If you like monsters, if you like mystery, if you like two-fisted hoo-ha action, if you like if the idea of a zombie fight club appeals to you, if you like detectives, if you like gunplay, if you like ghosts and ghouls, I think you'll find there's a little of that for everybody in this book. And moving forward, there's going to be even more things that I don't want to hint at just yet, but it's going to get very different. This story arc is going to get big and kind of bombastic, but still with that horror edge.
Fantastic. Well done. I like all that stuff. If you're interested in a Kickstarter, check it out. There's the link down there. Yes, I know it's a long link. You've heard me say this before. You go to Kickstarter, you type in Bigsby Grant, and guess what will happen? As if by magic, the book will appear. Check out where you want to go, pledge what you want to pledge, and reap your reward. You know, you've got 20 days to get this done. 162 backers, only $800 down from where they need to be. This is practically guaranteed. Practically guaranteed. Yeah, this is more guaranteed than the Dolphins losing another game to a team with a winning record.
I'm not going to touch that.
Yeah, but I'm right. If you want to keep up with Patrick, he's on a range of social platforms, so you get hints and tips, teasers of what's coming. You've got Facebook there, you've got Twitter. I'm not going to call it X no matter what anybody says. And of course, don't forget, you've got Insta, Blue Sky, and Threads all there as well. Wow, cool. Patrick, it's been an absolute blast having you on the show, man.
This has been a joy. Thanks for having me.
You are more than welcome. More than welcome indeed. The book looks great. I read it earlier.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure if I was supposed to smile, but I smiled. And
I think you should smile. I think it should bring you some joy.
Yeah. No, yeah. I like the interaction between Diego and Bigsby, and I like the art style of the second half of the book. And it just appealed to all my sort of noir buttons. So well done on that. You've absolutely captured something really special there. I wish you all the success in the world with that.
I appreciate that.
You're more than welcome. Right, there we go. Another show done and done. Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite shows. You saw the trailer for it earlier. It was the Crisis in the Toyverse. You might not have seen a shadow in there, but if you look closely, there was a RoboCop.
There was. I saw it.
There was a RoboCop. And if you like your DC books, don't forget to check out the Definitive Crusade. And for all your Marvel heads, get ready for the Marvels movie, because that's what the No Price podcast will be talking about. That and Loki. And they might even get some comics in there. Probably get some comics. It's all there on the UCPN. Patrick, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, man. Really appreciate your time. I know how busy you must be.
Oh, I appreciate your time. Thank you. And I'll be sure to reach out the next time I see the Dolphins lose.
Thanks. On that note, I've been your host, Johnny Machine Hughes, and as always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.shop, all about comic pop culture.